Hello everyone, my name is Lynx, and we are continuing with driver Takeshiba. I say continuing, but we are approaching the end as well, considering this is the final chapter. No time to breathe. After she was finished with her shower, Lady Hinode put on a fresh set of clothes that she always kept in her office. Exhausted by all her thoughts, she looked at the night city before she went to the elevator. So much has changed, and yet there was still he. And although he even called her Kazumi now, technically Lady Kazumi, it was as if it was something he learned, not something he already knew. But her eyes were completely dry now. She cried so much there was nothing left. She couldn't think or feel anymore out of a sense of complete inner fatigue. What remained was just her. And the driver was waiting for her to take her home. A minute later, she arrived at the underground parking lot and exited the elevator through the special door reserved only for her. Takeshiba was waiting for her beside the spare Aika Storm. The car that took so much damage today was parked on a second parking spot. Home. Yes? Takeshiba asked when he opened the door for her. He immediately noticed her state, never having seen her like this. She nodded quietly, looking at him. It wasn't that there seemed to be anything heavy weighing on her, something he often noticed in the past. Not this time. It was... He really couldn't say. There was something different. A few minutes later, they were driving through the night city. The ride in the Aika storm was soft, almost completely silent. Lady Hinode looked outside, letting the colorful light pass by in a blur of neon. For a second, one of the brighter lights blinded her, so she averted her eyes, her look landing on the small fridge she had in the car but never used. She took out a bottle of still mineral water and drank a few sips, only now realizing how thirsty she had been for some hours now. Takeshiba-kun, she asked suddenly. Her voice was slightly shaking, but even she didn't know whether it was from exhaustion or fear. Yes, Lady Kazumi, Takeshiba said, and his voice instantly injected depth into Lady Hinode. Was she prepared to lose everything? She thought, reminded of the countless times she has felt like she was in this situation, wanting to end it all, just to do something, anything, anything. Anything would be better than this. A sense of eternal paralysis and distant glimmers of hope which would gently disappear every single time. How many times? How many times has she been in this state of mind? Only to stop herself. Always to stop herself so that she would not lose hope, so that she would not have a definite answer. Takeshiba-kun, she realized as she was saying it, that she was repeating herself, her thoughts, slowing down time so much it felt like ages ago, not seconds ago that she said his name, and he responded. Uh, can I will, can I tell you a story? Yes, of course. It's a story that means a lot to me. It's a story that I can't ever get away from it. It's in my life, always. Could I, could I tell it to you? Yes, of course, I would like to hear it. But would you like to hear it even if it's a sad story? Does it make you sad? Takeshiba asked. It does, but it's alright. It's just a made up story. The girl is a princess, so it's like a fairy tale, but I'll just start, alright? Alright, Takeshiba replied as they entered the city highway. And the princess and the boy fell in love. They kissed and promised never to abandon each other. Lady Hinode said, being well into her story, having told how they met and how the king was slowly taking a liking to the princess's friend.
But a month later, when the snow fell, a great misfortune befell them. A giant troll came through their land. His visit unexpected, sudden. It ripped the earth apart, killing many who lived in the kingdom and injuring the princess. And after the devastation was over, it took weeks for the princess to awaken, only to be told that the king was dead and the kingdom belonged to her now.
This is about you, except you changed it.
She was so weak, she fainted as she heard the news. When she came to again in grief, she also asked for the boy, but no one knew anything. And so she buried her father and said her best people look for the boy, hoping he was still alive.
Lady Hinode paused, her voice breaking. She took a sip from the bottle of water. She tried to continue, but tears would flood her eyes, and she couldn't utter a sound. Did she find the boy? Takeshiba asked with curiosity in his voice. And that question finally allowed Lady Hinode to continue.
She looked for a long time, but no one had seen him. And the kingdom needed her. With her guidance, the kingdom has been rebuilt and even became greater than what it once was. But the princess could not find happiness in this. She was still looking for the boy, hoping, making offers, looking,
Hmm.
until one day, there he was.
So she found him? Takeshiba asked, when he realized Lady Hinode paused a little.
She didn't. He came to her, but not as the boy she knew, but as a knight of steel, silent and deadly, asking to be one of her guards.
So it wasn't him?
It was, but his soul seemed to be gone or hidden. The princess asked her most trusted advisor, and she told her that during the attack of the troll, he injured his heart so much he had not only forgotten who he was, but also his true self was now hidden too. And to the question of the princess if he ever could remember her, and if ever his true self would feel safe to stop hiding, the trusted advisor said she couldn't tell, and that patience was needed.
Hmm.
And so the princess made the silent knight her protector.
What was he protecting her from?
Other kings, enemies of the old king, now enemies of the princess, who wanted the kingdom for themselves, but they would not succeed. The troll's curse on the boy also unlocked a singular focus within him, that of a formidable warrior, an unmatched opponent. The way he was able to wield his shield, spear, bow, and arrows. None of the enemies were able to hurt the princess, and at long last all of her enemies were defeated.
And with that, Lady Hinode stopped. She felt like she could not go on anymore. In her chest, she felt tension constricting her, as if her heart was about to be crushed. Was this going to be the last time she speaks? Her last breath of her? But it was all right. She could not have gone on any longer, and if she died now, she would be with. How does the story end? Something Takeshiba asked, and at once she felt a bit of her breath return. There was still time to say.
It never ended, Takeshiba-kun.
Oh, Takeshiba said nothing, but it was obvious to Lady Hinode that he,
It's still going on.
she said without thinking.
The princess is still waiting, hoping, not doing anything in fear of locking away her only love forever. The curse cannot be broken by the boy himself, but he cannot hear, he cannot see, and she's right there, in front of him. Or more like sitting behind him, waiting for him to recognize her, wearing the dress she had on the first time they kissed. Ooh. And that, waiting, it is slowly killing her. Day by day, she's closer to her end, and no victory, no riches, no legacy can ever mean anything if she won't have him to share and make memories with.
By the way, what she described, that's what every guy feels when he's told, "Oh, I don't know, give me some time to decide." Yeah. Anyway, but she can do nothing? He asked in a genuine tone, expressing his curiosity at the story. The tone of his voice stung Lady Hinode even more, realizing the impossibility of her situation.
She's mortified, afraid to tell him, to remind him, because if she fails, his mind will lock the boy she loves away forever. Do you understand?
Lady Hinode said, crying as she was uttering those words. And yet no tears flowed down her face because there were none left anymore. Only pain remained, stinging as she continued, her heart unable to stop, her mind making decisions without her. She reached out to Takeshiba with her hand, and was just about to touch him on his shoulder, but stopped herself in fear. Even now, even this moment, she couldn't do it. And up until now, this hesitation would have brought her relief. It was relief accompanied by pain, but it was relief nonetheless. But now, there was no relief, only pain. Lady Hinode burst into tears, and this time finding her eyes got wet again. And then, as if guided by an invisible force, she unbuckled her seatbelt. One small tear after another ran down her face as she silently got up from the back seat. Lady Hinode! Takeshiba said surprised when he realized what she has done.
No, don't stop the car. You can't stop the car. Please drive, please.
She said, almost as if not listening to him. But did she just go to the shotgun position, basically? Takeshiba obliged, and Lady Hinode climbed through the gap that would often be closed by the retractable glass into the front into the passenger seat. I was correct. She had done this through a series of awkward positions, backwards, legs first, then arms, and yet her movements, so fluid and determined, were such that it never looked anything less than graceful. Sure. She quickly put on the seatbelt as the Ica Storm drove on. Tears were still flowing down her face, but she felt like she needed to be closer to him, otherwise she would simply die. Takeshiba was silent, understanding from her determined tone and actions that she would not accept any alternative. He kept his eyes on the road, trying to drive and turn as smoothly as possible to avoid Lady Hinode hurting herself by any sudden moves of the car.
Thank you, Takeshiba-kun.
She said once she was settled in front with him. You are welcome, Lady Kazumi. Takeshiba said, thinking of asking her why she had moved to the front, but
The story of the princess.
she began, not really knowing what she would say next. That invisible force which made her come to the front, it seemed, was still commanding over her, wanting her to continue to tell him everything. Yes, Takeshiba said with interest. And if it was possible, Lady Hinode would not completely collapse, faint to a deep state of unconsciousness, protecting her. But this force was not letting this happen, and she felt like she no longer had any choice about what to say or what to do. The thing she feared the most, telling him everything would happen. For so long she was able to control her body, be patient, and endure not telling him if only she could have the certainty of hope. The end was here. She felt it, and as if she were looking at herself and Takeshiba-kun through the eyes of another being. It's you, she thought to say in that very moment, and then 1,000 other ways of saying it flashed through her mind. But none felt right. None felt like they said everything. And yet it felt like it was impossible for her not to tell him everything. Not to tell him now, in this moment, this second. Because if she waited any longer, she might die. And that death felt so real, so close, that there was no time to think about anything. No time to worry, to take care, and no other way then. Just. And in that moment, Lady Hinode undid her seatbelt that she had put on just a few months earlier. She moved towards Takeshiba-kun and
Don't stop driving.
she whispered into his ear as if it was if with someone else's voice. There was nothing she could do anymore. Takeshiba attempted to respond but had to turn his full attention to the road as Lady Hinode requested, which is when he felt on his cheek The Ekastorm veered off to the side, and Lady Hinode was startled by the jolt that went through Takeshiba's body when she gave him the kiss. Was barely able to instinctively nudge the steering wheel with one hand to avoid going off the road. Takeshiba seemed to be slowing down, and in panic fear of what the consequences of what she had done would be, Lady Hinode didn't pull away, and instead came closer and... kiss! Her eyes were closed, and her lips now pressed against Takeshiba's. He didn't resist at all, and she noticed he even let off the throttle completely, and they were slowing down. She moved even closer and put her arms around him, not opening her eyes. Both of them were now on the driver's side. When their lips parted, Lady Hinode dared not open hers. Her eyes. Takeshiba couldn't silence. She could not think of anything else to do but embrace him even tighter, resting her head on his shoulder, and hope that this moment would never end. All this while the car was forgotten, and left to drive right into the guardrails head-on. Wait, what? What? At one point, it felt to her as though they were flying. But then a hard impact shook the car, and Lady Hinode was thrust back onto the dashboard, with no seatbelt to restrain her, and no airbags to soften the heat. I'm sorry, what? She felt like she was about to lose consciousness, but then the tumbling stopped, and in an instant something pulled her in again. A warmth and a voice calling her name. Kazumi! Kazumi! And instead of flying, she moved closer once again, as if to kiss him.
It's you. It's really you,
She said. It's really you? He said back and took her in her arms. Oh, so it was only her imagination. Oh, so glad. As their car stood motionlessly at the side of the road.
Yuichi. My Yuichi.
She said, looking in his face, his eyes with her hands feverishly stroking his cheeks. Kazumi, it was you all this time? He said, unable to understand the distant feeling of belonging whenever he was in the company of Lady Hinode.
Yuichi.
She said back, and began showering him with kisses. He held her, not wanting to let go because of it felt like home. Like being woken up from a dream. With Kazumi there, as if they had fallen asleep together just yesterday. Alright, well, it might have been called the final chapter, but there's still the epilogue. And we'll get to it tomorrow, even if it will be a short one. But yeah, for now, I hope you enjoyed. As always, liking the video if you did, if you're new around, consider subscribing, and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.